I was asked to do a similar project on Karachi. So at that moment I discovered that I didn't know much about Karachi. So I started researching. It took me about a year to access the sources which were in English, Sindhi and Urdu to understand what has been happening in the city. And in the course of that research, I came across Dr. Akhtar Hamid Khan. I think he was the only man of vision that Pakistan has produced. So he was running an initiative in Aurangi Pilot Project, and he shared with me his vision of how the society of the entire subcontinent is going through a process of change. So the development issues looked from his perspective stop being development issues as such. They become social issues, and they are connected with your life and the journey of life of different citizens, different groups that live in the city, and how they interact, how they find their place in the city, how they survive, how they they are brought here because Karachi offers opportunities for employment. So the first thing is employment, then shelter, then transport, then water, and all these things, and education. So he was able to articulate how these people are coming to the city, and they are very resourceful, they are very intelligent, and they know how to use those resources. So they identify their problems, they develop solutions, and they survive, and they prosper, and they educate their next generation. So this is a process which is going on. So the development activists, according to him, has nothing else to do but to observe this process of change and development and see where he can participate. So which is what actually brought together my work in literature as well. My study of literature also changed because of this, because now I can see what the introduction of printing press has done to our society, and how it has changed, and how ideas about education and about your personal development and your family development have changed. You will borrow words from the same source from which you borrow ideas. So now the new ideas are coming from the West. So you will borrow their language as well, and it will get penetrated into your own languages. So now the same kind of jump has happened with the introduction of electronic media and internet, as was seen by the introduction of printing press. So this has also opened a whole new world. So languages are important, but languages are something which people use. People are more important than languages. So those people who had no Urdu in them some 15-20 years ago, their next generation is perfectly comfortable in speaking their own language, be it Saraiki or Sindhi or Punjabi or Pashto or Balochi, and Urdu. So they don't feel any handicap. It is actually the community to which I belong who lacks, because they are mostly not conversant in any other Pakistani language but Urdu. So they are at a loss. And when you compare Urdu and English, that has to do with our education system. Those who live in rural areas and those who migrate to urban areas, they are not provided any meaningful education by the government. So they have to do it on their own. So they are doing it, they are getting education of whatever level they can. So, and I don't consider it a failure of policy, because I believe that this is the policy. Because our decision makers have decided that those people are not to be given higher education. So they get access to very low level of education, while people living in the cities, coming from middle class and upper middle class and upper class background, they get very easy access to higher education.
So in this way you are creating a class system, kind of class system which is not good for society.
Well, classes are always there. What we are not creating but trying to maintain is the caste system. There are people who are not fit to be educated, and there are people who have a monopoly on education. So this is a basic belief which is held by our decision makers.
And again, Pakistan is torn or devastated by jihadi politics or radicalism.
Yeah, that would be there, because if you don't give them modern education, sometimes all they can afford is madrasa education. And the madrasa not only has a special curriculum, they have a special worldview. So that worldview is given to them. So that worldview was actually promoted. It was already there, but it was officially promoted during the Afghan war. And it said that we Muslims are against the world, or the world is against our community. So that community is described in a very loose way. That Burma's Muslims are our problem, Bosnia's Muslims are our problem, and what happens to them. But if Shias are being killed in Quetta, they are also Muslims, so that is not our problem.
What is your civil society doing when Pakistan is into this labyrinth of problems?
Well, civil society, I don't have very high hopes with civil society, because first of all you have to have a realistic appraisal of your society before you can decide where to intervene and what to do. So I have discovered that they don't have a clear understanding of the dynamics of society or what is actually happening on the ground with common people. So for them it's a drawing room cause. So I don't think they are doing much, and you can't expect them to do much.
So do you see any solution?
Well, I see the problems, and the solutions will also come from those people who are actually suffering from the problems. So you have to give them an opportunity to acquire modern education, so that they can pull their students, their children out of the madrasas. So if you don't open schools, they will send their children to the madrasas. So, and stopping the madrasa will mean that they will have neither a school nor a madrasa. So, I mean, this is something which has to be understood, and because their aspirations are modern. So if you don't allow them to enter your area, if you want to reserve modern education only for a certain class of people, then there will be distortions, because on the one hand there is this fierce process of change which is happening, and on the other hand all our state institutions and our civil society, they are on the opposite side of change. All they do is trying to resist change.
To keep their monopoly.
So if you resist change, social change, then you will have violence of various kinds.
So thank you, Ajmal Kamal, for offering
thank you
us
for inviting
time.
me.
Dear friends, that was Ajmal Kamal, a silent change maker. In our next program, we'll be playing chess with someone else. Until then, ciao.